Gary Baca here with you. We have Dana Salzman and Valerie Trout right here, two Oakland artists that are coming up. You probably know about them, but if you don't, I'm going to let you know all about them. Hello, Dana. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
And Valerie?
I'm blessed. Thank you.
Hey, Dana, tell us about, just for the record, Dana is a recording artist. She's a songwriter, producer. She has performed many live shows in the Bay Area, and a piano teacher, right? A little bit of everything. A mom. So tell us about yourself and where you come from.
Well, I come from a heavy music background, and born in Ohio, raised in California, spent a bunch of time in New York, as you know, and just music is my life. I live and breathe it. Play keys every day, sing, produce, like you said, do a lot of teaching. And
now, who do you credit your talent to? Is it your mom? Were they early influences? Your parents?
Yeah, I mean, my mom was a big influence. She gave me like a good solid background on the piano, and I had a mentor on the piano, Don Haas. He was a jazz pianist, and just listening to a lot of records and stuff.
Now, I know you went to the New York School of Jazz. Tell us about that. What did you learn there, and how long were you there?
The New School of Jazz, we went together.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah, we were there for 4 years. Some of us 5.
Some of us 6.
And we learned a lot. I mean, just a whole lot about jazz theory and performance. And we were taught by a lot of great people, Reggie Workman, Junior Mance, a lot of people, great cats, Cecil Bridgewater, you know. So we had the opportunity to jam with these people and with each other every day, and get a really solid music education.
Now, what did you learn in that class by going to that school? I mean, did you learn different theories? I mean, what does a person need to know if they're going to do jazz? What are some of the essentials?
Well, one essential that we didn't get was how to make a living from it, but that's all good. But we got, I mean, just, you know, how to improvise over different chords, composition forms, and like understanding chord progressions and chord changes, rhythms, just everything, classical music, history. I mean, it's a very broad, you know, thing, but just a whole lot of jazz theory and stuff having to do with performing.
Now, tell us about some of your influences, people that you listened to, looked up to.
James Brown, Jimi Hendrix, Marvin Gaye, Mahalia Jackson, Monty Alexander, Thelonious Monk, Coltrane, Sly, Roberta Flack. I could go on and on.
Yeah, you named some interesting people, so I'm going to actually check you on a few. What did you get from Marvin Gaye? I mean, what did you hear in his music that, you know, touched you or influenced you?
From him, how he layered his vocals and
background vocals, and
yeah, and just his chord progressions and how he sang on top of it. Just mostly like his harmonies. Yeah. Well,
he's a singer-songwriter. I mean, you had to be influenced by that. Like, say, wow, you know, he did it all. He could do it all. Yeah. This is something that could be achieved. Did you ever feel that by listening to artists that really single-handedly did it themselves?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, some people can't really do all that. Some people are just performers or just songwriters. But yeah, he definitely incorporated all that together.
Now, when you produce music, you write it, you know, you sing it, you perform it, you know, kind of like what Prince does or Marvin Gaye or Rick James. How did you know how to do that? I mean, to put it all together. How did it all come finally as a chemistry and you say to yourself, wow, I could actually do that? Do you remember that point, or where were you at?
Well, I think it's constantly evolving, you know, but ever since I was a kid, if I could find a keyboard that could somehow multi-track, or even with a tape recorder, just, you know, just, I was always very much into creating that. And as life went on, I got more into singing, and then singing my own music, and it's just constantly evolving. So it's just getting better and better with time, I think.
Now, you mentioned another person, James Brown. What about James Brown? What'd you get from brother James Brown, Godfather of Soul?
I really got some good feelings from him. Like, he makes me feel good when I listen to him, certain songs, you know, and I just got that feeling deep in my bones.
Right. Well, he definitely can.
Yeah.
He can raise a hair on your back for sure. And also Mahalia Jackson. Tell me about her.
She gives me goosebumps when I listen to her, and she makes me feel it deep down, and that's just makes me feel so good.
Right. And we're here with Valerie Trout, the great Valerie Trout. Is that you on your T-shirt there? Yeah, that's you. You've done a lot of shows. You know, you're one of those artists that we should be looking out for. Tell us about yourself and how you started your music career.
I was born here in Oakland, and I grew up going to Love Center, where it's Bishop Walter Hawkins and Edwin Hawkins. So I kind of just grew up listening to a lot of gospel. And my father was also a singer, and he's in a group, or was in a group, that I want them to get together again, called Chain Reaction. And so they did a lot of music. So I had a lot of music in my home, and I was at church all the time because both my parents are pastors. So in Berkeley Unified School District at the time when I was going to school had a lot of musicians that were working in the schools. So I was always, what was his name? He ran the Berkeley Maybach Piano Hall. Dick Whittington was my first choir teacher, and it was a jazz choir at Malcolm X Elementary School. So that was like my first introduction to like him being like, look, you could really do this, you know. And so I was like, okay, what does that mean, you know? And I started to listen to singers, and people started taking me to shows. Faye Carroll, she came to our schools, and so I was listening to her all the time. My parents would take me to see her perform. And Ellen Hoffman was also performing with the Oakland Symphony and Oakland Youth Chorus, but she was also a teacher in our schools. So I had a lot of that kind of influence.
Well, I find the church interesting. Tell us about, you know, what the church did for you as far as your singing and how you really got to learn your chops, right?
Yeah, my first vocal coach was Lynette Hawkins Stevens. And so she is the sister of Walter and Edwin Hawkins. And basically, when you go to church every day and you go in to sing this music, these mantras, the congregational music, becomes a part of you. So it's really important also in African American history that we learn this music to kind of like, you know, keep recreating